Nick of Wretch.
Yes.
Welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you doing today?
Great. Great to be here.
Okay. So tell me about the beginning of Wretch.
Well, 85, summer of 85, I think, is when things really started rolling for us. We started playing in the Cleveland area. There was kind of a different version of it, the band called MX, with Colin the singer and Brian the other guitar player, and then they fell apart, and then we got together with me, Jeff, actually John Pop, I think was the drummer at the time, and John Russell was the bass player, and that's how it started in the summer of 85, and just started playing up in Cleveland, and that's how it started.
Now, in the beginning, you made several demos in the 80s. How would you describe your music at that time?
A little more thrashier than it is now, speed metal, thrash metal, and it evolved into, as some of the guys, we rotated through different guys. We are more of a power metal band now.
Musically, what were you going for at that time?
Again, I think the thrash and speed, kind of like, I know one of my favorite bands at the time was Anthrax and early Metallica, and we were in that type of vein of stuff.
In the 80s, was there any interest from the labels?
Not really. We were kind of signed to Auburn Records, which was a Cleveland label at the time, but we never really put anything out. We were on a compilation album back then with one song, and that was it. And by the time that came out, I think that was 88, I want to say, somewhere around there. We played a couple more years, and when the 90s hit, we fell apart.
That must have been kind of discouraging. I mean, you
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. It is what it is, though.
So when did the band break up?
I'm going to say 90, 91, somewhere around there.
Any specific cause, or you just kind of discouraged?
It was just, some of the guys in the band weren't really getting along much, and with the change in the music scene, and we weren't going anywhere, we kind of had missed if we were going to get an opportunity with the label, I think that had come and gone, and so we just kind of fell apart.
What was happening during the downtime? What things were you guys doing musically, if any?
I lost touch with some of the other guys for a long time. I know Jeff, the drummer, Dennis, and I formed an insane, over-the-top guitar-oriented crazy band, very much like Racer X in the early and mid-90s, and we did that, but again, there was nobody cared at that time for that type of stuff, so we were playing just some local shows to very small crowds.
In 2003, you came back with another demo. Tell me about this reformation.
Actually what had happened was Bill Peters, the guy that owned Auburn Records, I was actually in Breaker at the time, and he mentioned about, hey, do you think you could contact some of the Wretch guys? Do you think they'd be interested? He was going to put out another compilation, which was Heavy Artillery 2. The first one that we were on in the 80s was Heavy Artillery 1. And I was like, well, let me reach out to these guys and see if anybody's interested. And the core of the band, which was Jeff, Dennis, Colin, the singer, and me, Brian had moved actually out of the country, the other guitar player, so he was not available. But everybody was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So when we got in the studio, we recorded one song, which was Eyes of Fate, which was a staple of ours. And the recording went so well that Bill scrapped the Heavy Artillery compilation album and said, let's do a full album. So we did, and that's how the Reborn album came about.
Tell me more about Reborn.
Well, that was just it. I mean, we were in there to do one song, and the recording went so well that we were all just like, hey, and including Bill Peters, he was like, let's do a full-length album. So I went back and wrote, I think half the songs on that were new songs at the time, and half were old songs from the 80s. And then we went in and did the rest of the album, and that's how it came about.
How did the album do for you?
Actually really well. It made us a little bit of a name over in Europe, especially Germany. So we got some recognition over there. And so things started going better than they had ever actually had in the 80s for us.
Tell me about Make This Garden Burn.
For the festival. Yes,
that was a compilation, right?
Yes, the Headbangers Open Air, correct? If I'm not mistaken. They had contacted us actually to write. We wrote the song. After we wrote the song, we went and played the festival, and they ended up using that song as their theme song. I don't know if they still do. I know for many years after we played, and I can't remember what summer that was. I want to say 2007 is when we went over
Possibly,
there.
yeah.
I think. I know they used it for at least 2 to 3 to 4 years as their theme song after that. I don't know, again, I don't know if they still do or not.
Now, after all of this, no band activity until 2013. What was going on?
Band member issues. It seems like we've always had those type of issues. Colin, the singer, had some health issues, and we eventually, he had to step down. He physically couldn't do it anymore. So we ended up getting Ron Emig, and we also at that time had gotten Mike Stevenson, the other guitar player. Tim Frederick, the bass player, had been in the band for a little while. And at that time, I think Jeff had left, and so did Dennis, the bass player. So at the time, we had a guy named Chris Koshok playing drums with us, and he decided to leave. And we got Evan Goschalk, and we actually signed a 5-year deal with Pure Steel Records out of Germany, and that's when we put Warriors album out.
Okay.
And Ron Emig was the singer for that album.
What about the Rise to Power?
The Rise to Power EP was right before that, and that was right after Coleman had left. So we had the singer, Ron. That was like our, let's see what he can do. We redid some older songs to see how he would fit in, and everything went well. And we actually self-released it because we were in the process of looking for a new label because Auburn Records really wasn't doing anything anymore.
So now we get to Warriors, which you already mentioned. How was the band changing and progressing at that time?
At that time, I had kind of lost my edge a little bit from thrash metal and speed metal, and really started getting into power metal. So, and I'm write maybe 90% of the music, so that was coming out more of a power metal feel than more of a thrash speed metal stuff, and that's just how it progressed. And I'm still in that vein today. I'm just a huge power metal fan, and so everything I write comes out that way now. So
3 years later, The Hunt is released, and once again it features a new singer.
Again,
Juan Ricardo. What happened to Ron?
Ron actually again had some problems with his vocals, his throat. We were actually starting that recording with him, and he was having problems singing in the studio, and he stepped down. He said, "I don't think I can do this anymore." So we shut down for a little bit. I contacted Juan. He's a busy guy. He thought he could have time for it, so he jumped in, and actually we've been doing really well ever since with him.
How are people accepting the new singers? Because I mean, when you have a singer, it changes the
it does change the dynamic of the band very much so. But I think Juan is a very much typical power metal type of singer, the high clean vocals. So I think it fit with the new stuff that was coming out of my writing. So I think it's been okay, and I know the response. We've done 2 tours with him in Europe, and the response has been great with him. So no problems.
So Man or Machine is your latest at
Yes,
this
sir.
point, right?
Yes, sir.
With Juan on vocals. What do you think he brought to the band?
Again, I think that power metal feel that when I started changing my writing style, which was just a natural thing for me, I didn't do it on purpose. I think he fit more than Ron and Colin, our original singer. I think he was more in that style that goes with the type of writing that I had. So it was just a natural progression for us, and it seems to be working really well right now for us.
With his power metal approach, how do you play the old songs?
Well, he just sings them. I think he does a good job, a good enough job that I don't think people miss the old singers. We haven't really had any complaints, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, I think so. Are there any new recordings being done?
Right now. We're working on a new CD right now.
Tell me about that.
Same type of stuff as The Hunt and Man or Machine. There's going to be a cover song on there. We did Steeler on the last one. I'm going to tell you it's a Loudness song. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm a huge Loudness fan. It's a very old Loudness song, and so that was my idea, all my idea. But same type of stuff. It's power metal. Some cool, a lot of harmony guitars, all that good stuff.
The Loudness fan in me wants to throw some songs at you, but I'm gonna withhold.
It's off Disillusions. I'll give you that much. How's that?
Finally, what made you persevere for so many years?
I just love playing. Always have. I've loved playing. I started playing guitar when I was 12 years old. I was always into heavier stuff, and I just love playing. I love the people. The metal fans are the coolest all over the world, whether there's 20 or 2,000 or whatever you're playing in front of. They always give you great energy back, and it's just something I love doing. There's not a lot of money to be made in this. Never done it for the money. Always done it for the passion, and I just love playing.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you guys.